Hey Greg, let's talk bourbon. Copper and Kings. So I've been seeing this bottle around at liquor stores here in Wisconsin for the last, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so. Didn't know anything about it, kind of interested in it. And lo and behold, I got a bottle of it for Christmas. It's pretty cool. So, looked into it, and you know, this is actually a pretty interesting story. So, Copper and Kings doesn't actually distill bourbon. They are distillers of brandy, and they're out of Butchertown, which apparently is a neighborhood in Louisville. So, and apparently, their biggest selling, their brandy that they do is an apple brandy. And so what they decided to do is to source some bourbon from, they sourced some 5-year-old bourbon from Bardstown, 10-year-old bourbon from Barton's, and 15-year-old bourbon from Heaven Hill. And they take that and they blend it together and they age it for an additional 12 months in their apple brandy casks. And then they also do what they call sonic aging, which means they play a bunch of loud music and let the vibrations help mix up the contents in the barrel. So whether the sonic aging helps or not, I don't know, but it certainly sounds good. Yeah, little pun there. Anyway, so it's kind of an interesting concept that you've got here, a brandy company putting out some bourbon. Gotta tell you, it's pretty darn good. Do a little review for you. On the nose, you definitely get that apple and brandy kind of note there on the very front of the nose there, along with some caramel, and there's a breadiness to it, maybe some cinnamon. I did check out some other people's reviews just to kind of see if they liked it or not. And one of them talked about it as being apple pie. Now, I don't really get apple pie. Now, I realize that if you were to take the notes that I just talked about and kind of string them together, you would probably think, oh, it must be like apple pie. But this actually gets a few other notes in here. There's also like a kind of a musty oak and kind of an earthiness. Like I said, this is a little on the darker end of the spectrum for bourbon. So because of that, it kind of takes away from being an apple pie kind of a feel. That being said, it's lovely. It tastes great. I think they did a really good job with it. So another interesting thing about it is that when I first cracked this bottle open, I was trying it against a couple of 90 proof bottles. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, this one here, this is really proofy. So today I wanted to see if that was true, if that was still holding true. And so I put it up against here a couple of cask strength bottles here. One's a bourbon, one's a rye, both of which are also brandy finished. So when putting these, this blackened here, which is the cask strength version at 123 proof, and then we've got Seagrass, which is of course a rye in a apricot brandy finish, and that's at 120 proof. I gotta tell you, this right here fits right in with them in terms of proof level. I wouldn't say that this is proofy at all, right? So I just want to get that out there. If you're putting this up against some $90 bottles or 90 proof bottles, but up against other cask strength bottles. Although I don't think we ever call this cask strength here on the bottle, but it is 111. So blackened. This one here is lighter. The brandy finish on it is more of they talk about it being a black brandy, and it kind of comes across as blueberry and raspberry. So you kind of get a blueberry raspberry kind of brandy note. The brandy note might be a little stronger than the brandy note on this one. And overall, this is a lighter pour. It kind of also then has some vanilla and some cinnamon, maybe a touch of baking spice. And then the seagrass, which is, I said, is a rye, and most of you are probably familiar with seagrass. It has a lovely nose. That apricot brandy really comes forward. It's very strong, especially on the nose. Not as much on the palate, but it is on the nose. And then behind that, you get some of the rye notes, like the cloves and the lemongrass. Maybe with a little bit of baking spice or kind of even a peppery finish on the seagrass. So all of these are really good pours. Price-wise, I believe this is roughly a $65 bottle. Blackened is an $80 bottle that I got heavily discounted. It was pretty cool. And the seagrass, I think I got it for $63. I think they're asking more for it now. I think they're asking more around $70 for this now. And anyways, so here I go. These are my only bottles I've got that have brandy finishes. But I wanted to show, see how they compare against each other. So I got to tell you, as far as this Cooper and Kings, Copper, I don't know why I said Cooper, Copper and Kings, it's really, really good. And for a brandy distiller to come out with a bourbon like this, I think it's just fantastic. So, cheers.